USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veterans' stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
I grew up in Brooklyn, Crown Heights, Brooklyn. Was born in Brooklyn, went to school, elementary, high school in Brooklyn, and I joined the Navy from Brooklyn. My father was in the Navy. I had a scholarship to Georgia Tech to play baseball. And I said to myself, I'd rather go into the service and then come back and finish my education. So I got a hold of my parents and I pleaded with them to let me join up because I was only 17. So I needed their approval. And I had his neckerchief that he wore when he was in the Navy, so I kept that and I used it when I went in the Navy. I went to school, Quartermaster School, at Newport. And while I was there, I heard the roar like airplanes. There were PT boats going out on training missions. And I always wanted to be a pilot, but I flunked twice. My eyesight, the Navy and the Army, both. I couldn't get past the eye exam. So I liked what I saw. So I made an inquiry about it. And they said, well, you have to volunteer and you have to be accepted. So before I graduated, I asked the lieutenant if it was all right if he put my name in as a volunteer. And he did. And I was accepted. And from Newport, went to Melville, Rhode Island, which is just a few miles down the way, the motor torpedo boat base, and I started school there. And then when we graduated, I was assigned to the motor torpedo boat Squadron 34. The squadron was already in Europe. They had gone there before the D-Day because the English small craft could not keep up with the German E-boats. Our boats were very fast and had a lot of armor. I was there with 4,000 soldiers on this big troop transport. There was a couple of Navy personnel, but I was the only PT boater on it. Everything was pitch black, naturally, because of the war. And as we went past the Statue of Liberty, everybody was looking at it, and nobody said a word. It was so quiet. All you heard was the engine of the ship. And I guess everyone was thinking, would I ever come back again to see it, And we were in the middle of the convoy, and all the other ships were around us. And while we were and they were zigzagging. One night you're freezing, the other night you're warm. They were zigzagging across. They don't go straight across. They zigzag back and forth. All of a sudden, we heard the destroyers, whoop, 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 whoop. And they were going all over the place, throwing depth charges. There was a couple of German subs there. We all had to go topside. So you can just imagine 4,000 troops trying to get topside. And some destroyers were out there throwing depth charges. And finally, they said, okay, get back down below. And it was quiet on that ship, too. Nobody said a word. They were all saying their prayers. So we made it. From Portsmouth, we didn't stay that long. We went to the Bill of Portland. That's where the boats were. Because from there, they would be going into the channel and working alongside other British boats. Right after D-Day, in July, I was in England, and the 507 boat, which I was eventually assigned to, got into a battle, and the quartermaster, Hatmaker, Bobby Hatmaker, was injured, was wounded. So they assigned me to that boat. I took his place. The American PT boats had Utah and Omaha beachheads. And that was a very lasting thing I remember at the beachhead. I used to watch the Army guys, we were protecting those ships, and the Army guys being unloaded, and then watching them come back on the Red Cross ships, the hospital ships. That's also something that's always in my mind about that. See those guys going on saying, will they ever come back? When the army really started to make a move, we were able to get into Cherbourg, France. Every other night, we only went out at night. We were 12 boats, 6 of us would go out on patrol. And we covered the entire English Channel beachheads to make sure there was no E-boats around. And we'd go all the way up the channel, all the beachheads, all the way down to the Channel Islands. So we got a call that Glenn Miller's Piper Cub is missing. So we were directed to the spot that they think the plane went down, and we were zigzagging, and we go up and down, looking. Never found anything, not a trace, and we couldn't figure that out. Usually you find something, nothing. And we had a report that there was nothing we could find, and that was it. They never did find anything, and he was gone. Gunner was our little dog. He was a little guy, great little dog. In fact, he was wounded when the 507 was in action, and they gave him a Purple Heart. He had a collar with a Purple Heart on it, and another collar for the battle that he was in. I put on his collar, so he fell overboard. So I said, ho, stop. Gunner went overboard. And I jump in to save him. So they come and they get me to bring us back up, and the skipper says, and they called me Sam. Sam, what are you, nuts? Gunner was overboard. I wanted to save him. He died. He drowned. He says, don't you know dogs can swim? I said, no, I'm from Brooklyn. We don't have dogs. I said, I didn't know they could swim. He says, yeah. Gunner, as of that event, became ill. He got distemper and died. We buried him on cliffs of Dover in England. And the skipper had the ceremony. We took on a little flag, wrapped it around him with his battle stars, buried him. Skipper said a few words. And Gunner is buried overlooking the English Channel on the cliffs of Dover. The one night it was a bad storm, and they told us there was a ship out there that they want us to go after. And we told them, we're bouncing up and down. We can't throw a torpedo. We'll go nowhere. They said, well, do the best you can. Well, it was such a storm. We thought we were all going to die. The boat was coming up, and then, boom, down and out of the water. The engines were, then, boom, back down into the water, up again. And everybody was sick. couldn't handle it. I mean, and so as we're coming back, daylight broke. Now that's not a good thing for us. Sure enough, there comes a plane, and it was one of our planes, and they're coming down there looking at us. So we're signaling them. It's PT 507, PT 507, and we have a big star on the boat, And the skipper sees he's coming down, and he opens up the bomb bay doors. So the skipper says to the gunner's mate, if that guy keeps coming down, blast him. And U.S. Air Force plane, U.S. PT boat is going to fight it out, So Boz, with the gunner's mate, he was fun. He looked at the skipper and says, are you sure? Yeah, he's looking up, hit us with a bomb. So O'Leary kept, signaling and signaling. Finally, he figured he had the wrong signal. So he looked it up. Sure enough, he had the wrong signal. So he got the right signal and then did it again, and they took off, and we were okay. In December, they decided to leave, and they were marking our gear CPI, China, Burma, India. So that's where we figured we were going to go. We only had 10 boats left. 509 was blown apart, and the 505 was hit with a mine. So we only had 10 left. And they decided to change their mind that the boats are going to go to Russia. One of these Lend-Lease deals with an ally, you know, and we were on our way up, and I'm plotting the course and all that. I said to the skipper, we're going the wrong way. What are you talking about? I says, that's island to the left. We're not supposed to be going to the island. And with that, couple of small craft boats start coming towards us. I says, it looks like we're going to have company, skipper. So he contacts Doherty. He says, Doherty, Sam says you're going the wrong way. He says, what are you talking about? And they're talking back and forth. So Doherty goes, checks his gear, his compass gear and whatnot. And it was defective. And we were going to island if we stayed on that course. We straightened it out, but the weather was so rough, we lost an engine. So skipper said, what the heck are we going to do? So he contacted somebody, I don't know who, in London, and they directed him to go into Wales and this little port there. So we got up there, and when we got up there, they had a net across the mouth of the harbor, and so we couldn't go in. So we stayed there, and guy came running out, and we told him, and the skipper started talking to him. We're United States PT boat 507. We lost an engine. He says, I don't care. Get out of here. The skipper says, what? He says, you're not welcome here. And this is our ally. Would you believe this? Now, what do we do? You know, we just skip it. No, what the hell? So meanwhile, an English small craft boat comes alongside, and the skipper said to our skipper, hi, Yank, what's up? And Taylor, PT told him, he says, can you get the nose of your boat up against my stern? And BT says, you bet your sweet life I can. So he gets right up his stern, and they open the gates for the British craft to go through. So we're right behind them, and we got in. The guy on the deck went crazy. He's screaming at us, going up and down. I thought he was going to start shooting. You know? So the English skipper was saying, come on, Yank, come on, Yank. We're going in there. Well, make a long story short, they got contact London. London got contact somebody in the Wales there, and they took care of our boat, fixed the engine, and we got out of there. We went to Glasgow, Scotland. That was a big base there, big CB base. And the Russians came with their big freighters, big, huge freighters, because that's how the PT boats are transported. 2 at the bow and 2 at the stern in a big cradle. And believe it or not, the seamen on those ships were women. The men were in the army fighting the Germans. The women were taking care of all the merchandise on the ships, loading and unloading. They said, look, we have the Russian wrestling champ with us. Oh, yeah. Oh, we have a pretty good wrestler here, too, one of the CB guys. So they said, oh, let's have a match. We'll have a little match, and we'll have a little something to eat and whatnot. I said, okay. So they had this big match, wrestling match, and the CB won. He pinned him down there. Well, the Russians said, you are now the king of the wrestlers in Russia. They gave him some sort of a medal or something that he was. And so I said to him, are you going to go to Russia? He said, no, I'm not going to Russia. He said, well, you're the head man now. You're the big wrestler. So they were looking at our boat, and the skipper said, look, you're going into an area which is frigid. Don't grease the guns. And the Russian guy said, oh, no, the book says grease the guns. He says, I know. He said, but I'm telling you from our experience, don't grease the guns, because it gets into that cold weather, it's going to harden, and if you try to shoot that gun, it's going to explode. He says, no, the book says, grease the guns. We grease the guns. So the skipper says, okay, grease the guns. He says, lots of luck. He said, I hope I hear if they ever fired those guns, what happened. Because if they did, no question it's going to blow up. No. We came back April of 45. We came back to Melville, and I was transferred to Boston, the 1st Naval District. And I worked in the office there on checking the maps for the merchant marine ships and to identify the areas where the mines may be. And I stayed there, and I started to play basketball. So I was in the gym playing basketball, and this man comes up to me and says, we have a team here. Would you like to play? Yeah, sure. So who was on the team? Carl Erskine, pitcher for Brooklyn Dodgers. So he and I became very friendly. And there was another fellow, Jern Freedy. He was a player for the Philadelphia Phillies. And we were the 1st Naval District. I ended up going to college, played baseball and basketball in college. I was supposed to report to a minor league club, but I was going to be 25 years of age.
For baseball?
Yeah, baseball. I said, you can't start in the minor leagues at 25. Well, you know. And I told him I decided to go to law school. The first job I had was with the Lawless and Lynch. They were attorneys for the Hartford Insurance Company. And then I went to the New York City Transit Authority as a trial lawyer. And from there, I opened up my own practice. And it wasn't that easy, but eventually the reputation was there as a trial lawyer, and I got work from other lawyers. My clients were other lawyers. I was in politics for many years with the Democratic Party, and they always asked me, what do you want? What do you want to do? Where do you want to be a state senator? Do you want to be assemblyman? Do you want to be a councilman? I said, can you make me governor of New York? Oh, they started to laugh. I said, of course you can't. I'm only being facetious. I don't want to. I really don't. But my buddy, who was a very dear friend of mine, was a judge. He insisted I be a judge. You gotta be a judge. We need people like you. Yeah, I had the civil part of Son of Sam's case. Son of Sam was getting Social Security. Serial killer, and you want to give him Social Security, you want to give him an opportunity to make money on his crimes? I said, no way. I said, you got to do something. In other words, he wasn't able to have any publications, any books, magazine, articles where he'd get money. I took that away. So he sent me a threatening letter. He was going to put a curse on me. I get a hold of his lawyer one day. He's in court. He comes in the chambers. I take off my robe. And I said, look, I'm talking to you like a kid from Brooklyn right now. You tell that guy, stop sending me threatening letters. Otherwise, I'm coming up there, and he and I are going to have a discussion, a talk. After the war, we had our reunions together with our wives, family. We kept together, kept in touch. I think I'm the last one now. And I think the VFW, American Legion, they're all out there, they're helping. Wounded warriors, disabled vets, they're all out there helping. We need that. We gotta help them, really do. Gotta help the veterans coming out, men and women both.